Hello and thanks for stopping by. This is God Hand for the PlayStation 2, published by Capcom in 2006. I stumbled on this particular game by accident. I think I was looking for Deadly Premonition, and this one came up on the list, so I ended up watching a video and I realized it was my type of thing. Now, I don't have a disc for this game. I went looking and it's just one of those foolish circumstances. I went on eBay and the prices are stupid. $300+ for a game is not reasonable, no way. But the PlayStation 3 store is still open and they sell PS2 games. And they happen to have God Hand for $9.99, in the United States at least. That's a completely reasonable price for this game, although I hate digital games to begin with. I love games, but I don't feel like I actually own this game. Yes, I paid for it and I have a download, but there it is. I know some people love digital, I definitely do not. I'm glad I can at least play this game. So this game is a brawler. I think I would put this roughly in the same class as Bayonetta. Kind of. It feels similar in some aspects, mostly with combos and flashy finishers. Definitely not in terms of the camera. The camera is definitely more rudimentary here, along with a bunch of other things, I'm sure. I think the camera just tracks poorly, and you can't control it, which is unfortunate. So this is an Old West cowboy setting, and I don't know why they would choose it. This setting is mixed in with Japanese fighting, I guess. Picture characters that look like they belong in the Fist of the North Star franchise. I guess if you haven't seen Fist of the North Star, that might not help. But basically, we're talking all characters are tall, beefy, muscular, pretty much all torso. Proportions are off. They're just weird. Also, the music in this game. For some reason, this game uses surf music. This is the last music I would have paired with either a cowboy setting or a Japanese fighting game, but that's what we got here. I also have to mention there are some foolish stereotypes in this game, and they're just cringeworthy, and they're played for comic effect. I'm not going to go too much into describing these, they're just foolish. I'm glad I don't see this in a ton of games, because these sections are really embarrassing and tedious to sit through. The overall story of the game, it's just odd and goofy. The problem is, the only people that like goofy are children. That part of the game doesn't impress me. It's just strange, weird, unrealistic, and annoying. You see this in just the dialogue, in the way that people are talking, the way people are acting. I don't know, it's just bizarre. Also, there's this tough guy bravado from the main character, which is something that I think most games have drifted away from in the past 10 or 15 years. I don't know, maybe a 12-year-old would appreciate it, but even when I was 12, I would have thought something is off. People just aren't like this. To show how strange this game is, one of the first levels is about a poisoned chihuahua. It poisons some guy and you gotta go find an antidote, apparently. Clearly, they did not write this game to put in any genuine thought or interest into the story. They're just being strange for the sake of being strange, and I hate that. It's just one of those games, I guess. But if you could ignore that, and I mean, the story is a really small part of this game, you ignore that and you move on, I think there's a lot to enjoy here. I will say one thing that is a benefit. I made it to the first boss, and after sitting through his embarrassing dialogue section, I got killed. Usually you get killed with a boss because you don't know how to fight him. Great. But when you died and restarted, the game didn't force me to have to go through that embarrassing dialogue section again. I just got to go right back into the fight. That's nice, thank you. So past this, we have a brawler, and it's considered to be very difficult, and it's also by some considered to be one of the best games for the PlayStation 2. Before I caught this one on YouTube, I didn't even know it existed, but now I'm like 8 hours into the game. You start this one straight out into a battle, and you kind of have to learn how to play on the fly. I think that's okay. I guess I probably would have preferred a setup to the world first, but basically you're learning about the character's story through flashback. There isn't much of a story, of course, but that's how you learn it. And here you play Jean, and you're traveling with your companion, Olivia. You were in some sort of a battle and had your arm cut off. That arm was replaced with the arm of a god, and now you can use god powers from time to time. Your god powers need to be activated, and they can be activated once you fill up the proper meter. When it fills, you just press R2, and your god power starts, your arm flashes, and now you do more damage, as you would expect. As you defeat enemies, they might drop coins, or they might drop these cards that you pick up. When you pick these up, they will fill your roulette special attack meter. If you have tokens in this regard, you press R1, and time slows in terms of the gameplay, and you have maybe 3 or 4 seconds to scroll through a list and choose a special ability. It's some crazy offensive action that usually sends a villain flying. There's probably a lot of light. It's some sort of a flashy move for sure. And some of these actually work against some enemies better than others. There are certain ones that don't affect some creatures altogether. You just have to sort of learn what those are. You have combos in this game, lots of combos, and you map a combo to the square button. You can choose for maybe 20 moves to start, and as you play the game, you're going to find new offensive moves, or you're going to buy new offensive moves with credits as you play. When you can map things to this button, it's pretty awesome, because you can set your combo the way you prefer to play. You can also adjust the triangle and cross as well. Specifically, I mapped a guard break to the triangle button. Basically, when you're punching enemies in your combo, if they go into guard mode from your fists, you need to be able to break that guard. Having easy access to a break is useful. Now, the more fluid your combos, the better your offense is going to be. Based on some research, apparently, keeping the same fist in your combination is faster. So, all left arm versus a left-right arm combo is faster. So here in this game, we've got this gigantic potential variety of combos, and you can constantly manipulate them at a moment's notice. The thing is, it seems, you need to figure out what you like to play with, but then you also have to understand where your combination actually fits in this game, because your combo that you like isn't going to work everywhere. So out of the gigantic list of combos, just because you like these particular 5 or 6, those aren't going to work for everybody. You have to actually figure out your enemies. And you have to worry about this as you go, because if you don't, you're going to find yourself really ineffective versus certain creatures. You use the right analog stick to dodge, and you're going to use it a lot. If you pull down, you're going to hand flip backwards out of the way. Sometimes you have to do it more than once. Sometimes you have to go to the left or right, and that's you just sort of dodging or scooting around to the left or right. You're going to have to do this depending on the enemy and depending on how they are attacking you. You're going to get used to it, and you're going to have to get prepared to get used to it if you have any hope of progressing far in this game. You also get a taunt button, and sometimes you have to use that to drag enemies away from a group, because it's easier to take care of one person than it is to take care of like 4. I think the first level, if you play this game, the first level is a great way to understand exactly how difficult it's going to be. It took me more than an hour, hour and a half to get around the first level to just understand what was happening. You can't just button mash every fight. Yeah, you gotta press a lot of buttons, but there's a definite need to dodge here, and on that first level, you actually have to learn how to dispatch a bunch of enemies without taking any damage. You do get health in this game you can pick up. They're these gigantic pieces of fruit, and they are ridiculously oversized. They don't give you much health back, and honestly, there aren't many of them. Sometimes they're dropped by an enemy, sometimes you can find them in a crate. I wish there were more. Now, certain enemies that you defeat in a level might transform into a demon. It's weird. They get resurrected and they're this demon, and usually they have no top of their head. It's weird looking. Demons are not easy to defeat. They are definitely a higher caliber, and if you're new to the game, like I was, expect to start to feel pretty good in this game. You're dropping creatures, and then you run into a demon and they destroy you. So, beating the crap out of enemies with such a remarkable long list of potential combinations, it's kind of awesome. This doesn't even include the stuff that pops up from time to time. If you're doing well beating somebody up, the game might suddenly throw up a notice on the screen. Hey, press the circle button to do a suplex. Press the circle button to do a cobra move. I don't know. It's weird. They just pop up and you do them and it does some crazy action on screen that you weren't expecting. It's kind of great. Now, this is a PS2 era game, so there are certain types of games from that era that don't give you much detail. This one doesn't give you a lot of detail in the scenery. It's also very linear. You're going to find things are designed to be very square, and these areas, these rooms, they're not filled with a lot of stuff. It's going to feel empty of detail. The rooms are going to feel too large. You're going to find that there's only like a chair or a table in a room, and it's just going to seem strange. There were certain types of PS2 games that did this. This just falls into that category. Now, when you defeat enemies, and they drop things, coins or cards maybe. These cards might have special things on them. I don't know what they do exactly yet, but on the first level I got a bikini model on my card. I wasn't expecting it, it was strange, but it gave me some sort of offensive power at the time. These are important to pick up all the time. If something drops in the middle of a battle, chances are you might be scrambling to get it in the middle of the battle. In this game there's something called the casino. You can go to the casino and gamble, basically. But this sort of gamble area displays one of the frustrations that I have in this game. This casino is far too large. There's really no fighting in here. It's not like you're learning anything. You go to the casino to gamble. But they made it so big you have to waste your time running around upstairs, downstairs, down hallways, just to get to, I don't know, a slot machine. It's just wasted time, space, and effort. It makes no sense why you would make it this big, especially when it feels so empty. They could have made this simple and reasonably sized, but they went huge. And now you have to waste your time running around the different areas here. What good are having 50 slot poker machines? You can only use one at a time. Does it really give you that much more detail when you put more in? I don't think so. You can also go to the general store, and the general store is going to feel empty. You walk inside, it's a square room, and there's a counter and a person standing behind it. That's it. But the general store is where you're going to buy upgrades, different offensive moves, you're going to buy more health, that sort of thing. This is where you're going to be able to multiply your offense, grow and customize your character to an impressive level. It takes a while to adjust to this game, and especially just getting through the first full stage. It took me 3 or so hours, I think, at least, to finally get to the part where I got to beat a boss. And then I think you start to get it, at least a little bit. It isn't somewhere until the second stage, actually, when you start to see at least a little variety in enemy types. They eventually insert females in dominatrix uniforms, for some reason, and you finally get to see some variety in the demons, which is nice. I think it's important to pay attention to how you're saving your game. You can save in between stages, in between zones even, but you need to pay attention to where your cursor is while you're saving. I know some games just let you get to the save option and you press, maybe cross twice and it'll just automatically save it for you. But here I believe you have to actually move your cursor to verify that you are actually saving your game. If you don't, you might be canceling out of the screen without actually realizing you're canceling without saving. Overall, God Hand is a hard game. It's embarrassing at times actually, and it barely has dialogue, but the offensive combos that they have here, and all the variety in the types of ways you can dispatch enemies, it's massively entertaining. I know this is not the type of game for everyone, but I'm progressing through this one, and although I'm not a fan of digital, I'm glad I have the game. I'm really glad Sony decided to keep the PlayStation Store open so I could purchase it. But this is a strange game. It's a very strange game, but I am liking it for sure. Well, that's all I have today for God Hand for the PlayStation 2, which I am playing on a PlayStation 3. Thank you for stopping by to take a look, and I will catch you on another video.